Pokemon has new DLC for its new titles of Pokemon Scarlet and Violet coming out in the fall and in the winter, although if you ask me, this is basically a November release date with a month in between. Now, the hidden treasure of Area 0 is shaping up to be even better than the Isle of Armor or Crown Tundra that we got in Pokemon Sword and Shield. My favorite is definitely the Teal Mask DLC, with the new mask looking Pokemon being the mascot of it. The Indigo Disk is cool, but I'm really not looking forward to going back to school, especially since I'll be in school during this time, so it's just I'm not looking forward to it. Although Blueberry Academy, I guess, is pretty cool. For the most part though, DLC's actually been a step in the right direction and saved us an extra $60 for a remake that could be a pain to play just to get like 3 new mons. But that's not to say all is good. I mean, there is a reason why I'm making this video. To give you some backstory, let me rewind to the Isle of Armor, where Urshifu in both of its forms were released. You got Urshifu's single strike form and rapid strike form, and as its name implies, one has a signature move that hits once, and one has a signature move that hits multiple times. It's a cool concept, basically introducing 2 new Pokemon, and these 2 new forms were pretty similar in the way they were played, but also somewhat different from each other. By that I mean one was literally an Ubers in Generation 8, while the other one, well, it was an OU struggling against Toxapex, but nevertheless, both of them were pretty dominant in their respective metagames. However, this easy dominance is what I have a real issue with. With Pokemon for the first time experimenting with the idea of DLC, they had to captivate fans across the globe, and what better way than having a mascot Pokemon? This was a legendary Pokemon that was able to use prior to most other legendaries upon releasing VGC, and that in and of itself made it very intriguing alongside the cute and menacing designs these fighting bears had. After all, in Generation 8, it was then where they started to take their competitive players more seriously, from bottle cap changes to new battle items and more. It really did seem like they finally acknowledged the other side of the player base. So how else could they have made Urshifu that much better? Oh well, they gave it like an ability that helps it go through Protect with its contact moves, the only thing keeping all of Pokemon fair. I don't think I really need to go into the depth of it. You probably have seen the countless videos and discussions across the internet of how OP Urshifu and its moves are and its abilities. It's just, you guys get the point, and I think I speak for everyone in short terms that we were all flabbergasted that a Pokemon like this was even coming to exist. It's not even the fact this ability isn't unique or cool. Like, I love unique abilities, I love cool abilities, it makes the game even more interesting. It's just the idea of how game breaking can be under the right circumstances, or basically most circumstances, especially alongside its signature move and barrage of physical moves Urshifu gets. I mean, as I said before, it is a play on both sides. One hand, it was good marketing, making an interesting OP Pokemon released into competitive VGC right off the bat that has amazing potential with 2 unique forms. But in competition, the disparity among power between good Pokemon starts to separate even further between better created Pokemon. There was a ton of Pokemon that used to be really good, and because of the rise of Urshifu, many of those Pokemon in Generation 8, even the new ones, started to tail off just a bit more than usual. This was once seen again in the Crown Tundra DLC, and my god was it known with Pokemon like Calyrex Ice Rider, Shadow Rider, and even the base forms of Spectre and Glastrier had monstrous stats, and even a good move pool in the case of Glastrier. We even have Pokemon like Regieleki and Regidrago. However, Regieleki is more on the end of that because its electric type moves can really hit everything else except ground, and ground is pretty dominant in the competitive scene, and so it's kind of still semi-strong, but if I had to grade it based on the power creep scale, I'd probably put it in the B or B plus tier. Well, that's until it's released in Generation 9, because with Terra Blast, this thing's gonna be a problem. Anyways, the only critique I have about this DLC is that the fact that the Calyrex base form literally serves no other purpose other than to fuse with its horse friends. But other than that, we have 6 to 7 Pokemon that brought upon huge change in power creep in the span of a couple of months in 2020. Think about it, before the summer of 2020, the Pokemon scene was pretty peaceful, with Sniper and Talion actually being pretty good, and Landorus, Therian, although not in Generation 8, but in Generation 7, being probably the most dominant like OU Pokemon. It was good because of its ability and its utility. It wasn't all OP necessarily, as these new Pokemon like Urshifu, Regieleki, Calyrex, and as the horses came in suddenly in 2020 in these DLCs and absolutely squandered the previous competitive scene with more god-forbidden stats, move pool, and OP abilities. You can see where I'm really going with this. And you want to know how bad it was? Calyrex Shadow Rider was so broken that it became even the second Pokemon to be banned into Anything Goes. Think about it, this Pokemon is in the same realm now as Mega Rayquaza. It took only 6 generations to have a Pokemon be banned from Ubers to Anything Goes, and since then it only took a mere 2. Listen, new Pokemon should be good, especially if you're advertising for the next big thing, but power creep discrepancy that has Pokemon level being taken 2 to 3 steps in advance, especially in the same generation, can be a bit too much. And I don't even have to refer to normal singles. Shadow Rider was huge in Generation 8 VGC, and Urshifu, and etc. Like, their raw power in and of itself made it difficult to play around at times. A base 165 Astral Barrage coming from Shadow Rider is no joke, and isn't even fun to play against on the opposing side. Urshifu was really dominant, especially with his G-Max form, because nothing could literally block its G-Max One Blow or Rapid Flow moves that was coming from it. I bring all this up because the 5 new Pokemon that are being introduced in the DLC trailer has me fearing that the power creep of Pokemon is going to be raised to another level in this generation alone. It has been a quick rise since Generation 8's arrival, or to put it more frankly, since the start of Game Freak's caring about the competitive VGC scene. And that's not to say Game Freak hasn't cared at all for the competitive Pokemon scene for VGC. I mean, it's been around for 10 plus years, but in recent times, I don't think it's any surprise they are making more favorable decisions with more interesting Pokemon and usurping the previous power creep quite handily to make the VGC scene a bit more interesting. And their idea isn't bad, but the power creep that it's causing is, I think, a bit too much. Like, I don't want to see Monkey Dory, who, by the way, probably has the wackest Pokemon design I've seen, if that makes sense. Hopefully it did. I don't know. Have an ability that gives an auto burn for its contact moves or an auto sleep. Like, that's just insane. Like, I'm all for interesting Pokemon moves, abilities, etc. But although while it does sound cool, I just don't want to see it. This just sounds a bit too much, you know? Terapagos probably scares me the most because this seems like an Urshifu of this generation, or basically Game Freak's next quote-unquote Pokemon child, in which they'll slowly hype up this Pokemon, especially since they already gave it a pre-evolution in the anime, and then make it slowly into that absolute powerhouse it's meant to be. I mean, the end result for Terapagos, it literally just speaks like it's going to be absolute nuclear in the competitive scene. Like, I don't think I even have to say it. It looks menacing. This Pokemon probably has a way to Terra to any type it wants to in battle without changing its Terra type like manually, like you have to do by grinding all those 50 shards, which by the way is the worst decision Pokemon's ever had. But anyways, I digress. Like, Terapagos seems like it's going to be really good. I don't know. My big gripe with all this is probably it's going to be a huge leap in power creep in the span of probably 2 months, by the way how things have been going in the past 2 generations, and it's going to be especially a lot in this generation, especially how Generation 9 was already up in power creep, but you're going to add another layer on it probably in a couple of months. I like new Pokemon, their designs and competitive aspect, but while the DLC is cool, I don't know how to feel and to be really that excited for knowing that it's going to be another 3 steps in power creep yet again, in bringing down Pokemon that were once good or even one of my favorites just down into lower tiers. I don't know really how I feel about this, but this is unfortunately the scary truth I'm really facing when it coming to these DLC games. Anyways, if you guys enjoyed, subscribe for more Pokemon content just like this.